Welcome back to the Get a Q podcast. My name is Brandon Hall. I'm pleased to be joined today by Jen Thomas. Jen is the instructional technology specialist for the Dartmouth Public Schools. You can find Jen on Twitter at BlendedLibGirl. Jen, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, Brandon. I'm very happy and excited to be here today with you.
So here we are. This is take 2 of our podcast. We had everything going. It was a great conversation and complete crash on the equipment on my end. So my apologies to you. But we are going to talk today about the Google Educator Group in New England and also the Certified Coach Cohort program through Google. Tell me a little bit about the basics of the Certified Coach Cohort program.
So a colleague and I decided that we spend a lot of our time delivering professional development to our teachers in our district, which is great. And, you know, I love it. It's what I'm passionate about. It really gets me fired up. And I love that I can, you know, reach out to so many teachers at once and be building a strong PD program. But sometimes it gets a little lonely being the only instructional technology specialist in my school. You know, I don't have a department and the teachers rely on me a lot, which is great. But sometimes I need my own professional development. And Google came out with this certified coaching curriculum and program. I think it was about a year or so ago. And I just said to myself, wow, this would be an awesome program to be able to do with a group of people. I know with the pandemic, especially, you know, this past year, it's been really hard to motivate to do professional development on your own. I have a hard time motivating myself to do things and complete things that I sign up for when they're at my own pace. So I thought that if we could create a cohort of coaches, whether it be, you know, tech coach, literacy coach, math coach, teachers in the classroom who aspire to be coaches, even administrators. If we created a cohort and we did it together, we went through the curriculum together, worked on the portfolio together, worked through the coaching cycles together. It would just be that much more powerful to be doing it with a group of like-minded educators. So MassQ is, you know, doing it through their site. It's also going to be offered for, I think, 2 graduate credits, which is awesome. And we just hope to get a bunch of people signed up so we can go through it together.
So in looking at the Certified Coach Cohort program and sort of the things that are associated with it, I think the thing I like the most is that it's about developing relationships with people and how you best approach people who at times could be skittish to use technology or you know, people who have been in education for a long time and been working on their practice for a long time, but maybe things are getting a little stale and, you know, you as a coach are brought in to sort of, for lack of a better term, coach them up. I think that's the thing I like the most about it is that it's about developing relationships with people and you really hit the nail on the head there. Yeah,
definitely. I think it took me a while to realize this. I was a librarian for 12 years. School librarian before falling into the coaching role. And in that role too, I mean, it's all about building a foundation of relationships and trust with teachers. You won't get anywhere without that. So I think this coaching program came at the right time. I think COVID kind of forced me into the role to make teachers trust me because they had no choice but to take my offer to help support them in the technology and the blended and the hybrid and the virtual learning that was going on. So I think I feel kind of lucky in a sense that, you know, my first 2 years of working as a tech coach, they were both COVID years. So it was sort of sped up the process of building those relationships with teachers. So now I have that foundation to be able to go through this program and facilitate it for others to say you know, you can know all the tech tools in the entire world, but it's going to go in one ear and out the other with teachers unless you have that relationship and that trust. And, you know about their families and you know what their favorite candy is. And, you know, just everyday little things that might seem so small and dumb, but those are the things that are going to take. It's all about building relationships and, you know, people skills. That's really what this role is about more than anything. Anyone can learn the technology, but it's that building the rapport and the trust and the two-way street with teachers that is crucial for being a successful coach.
Yeah, and teaching teachers is hard.
Yes.
Because teachers have a certain expectation of their students, and then they themselves are different kinds of learners. They kind of want to know, they want to know the process, not necessarily just like okay, how does this thing work? They want to know about the process too. And you get into these deeper conversations, I think, with people. And then on the other side, you've got people who are I'm here because I have to get a certain number of PDPs, right? This is something I have to do to fulfill a professional requirement. And then it became, during COVID, this is something I need to do to do my profession. Like it completely flipped the script on stuff. We've got, and I'm sure you do too, we've got teachers doing things that, I think of one math teacher that is a very good friend of mine who, when I was like, you've got to just try Google Classroom. Like, you teach you teach your BC Calc kids all summer long. You've got emails flying here, there, and everywhere, and you're trying to get information to them and check in on them. But it's not like in any kind of organized fashion that's trackable and, that the kids have access to all these resources. I'm like, just try it. It's going to make your life different. And then at the end of the summer, he says, hey, this Google Classroom thing's pretty good. And I'm sure you have those same interactions with people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like we actually, as a district, we had a goal to get all of our teachers onto Google Classroom. This was last year. So I would say probably at the high school, probably about 75% of the teachers were on Google Classroom. And then, the other 25% were sort of like using a bunch of random different tech tools that really didn't support a efficient or sustainable workflow. But by the end of what was last year? 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
By the end of last academic year, 100% of our teachers were on Classroom and using it with, best practices.
Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, I see that all the time. Definitely.
The thing that I always kind of laugh about is the paper, right? Like we still have people that are like, oh, I got to print out this packet to give to the kids. I'm like, no, they have Chromebooks. You can just share it in Classroom. It'll be fine. But like our paper consumption is way down, and paper is expensive. Like
yes, it is.
A case of paper from WB Mason printed. So, the toner that it takes to print it plus the paper in itself in the box is about $45. So it's a half a penny a page to print it. And then it's, the cost of the sheet of paper itself. We're saving a lot of money on paper. Just
absolutely.
for that. But going back to the certified coach program, what sort of ways have you found that have been effective to get to the hard to get to teachers? What sort of strategies have you found, either learning through the certified coach program or just through your own sort of practices?
So I have like this core group of frequent flyers who always come to me for everything, who always want to do projects, who always sign up for everything I offer, which is great. Makes me feel good about myself. I know what I'm doing is somewhere in the ballpark of the right thing to do. But it's hard. It's hard to reach those teachers who, A, don't think they need help, think they've got it all figured out, B, have no clue where to start, are completely terrified by tech, or C, it's just like not in the front of their brain about this is a new role for Dartmouth High School. So when I started, it was the first time somebody had been in this role. So it's just like not part of the culture yet, really. I will tell you that COVID definitely like put it on the fast track for becoming part of the culture. But I don't know. I think a lot of it is, I do weekly PD just drop-ins. Like today I have my Tech Tuesday. So I just focus on like one tool every Tuesday. I always run it. Whoever shows up, shows up. A lot of times it's a one-on-one, me and a Google Meet with one other teacher. I don't care. That's great. That's that one teacher that I've been able to reach. It's only a half hour. They're done by 2:45 and then they're out the door. This year I assembled a digital learning team. So I have one or two people from each academic department, including guidance. And I sort of loosely followed the coaching curriculum with that group. So I did a lot of like the protocols. I did a lot of the, tried to work through the coaching cycles, but that was like a little slippery with COVID this year. It's just hard to be consistent with any program, because every morning we'd wake up and wonder if like the news from Governor Baker was going to change. So It was hard to know like who was going to be in what, whether we were home or remote or hybrid or what was going on. So that's been a little hard this year. I picked a very challenging year to launch that program, but we meet monthly. They have a certain number of hours that they have to meet one-on-one with me, which is great. And so those are kind of my those are kind of like my groupies, and I can always count on them for, wanting to do things, inviting me into the classroom. Sometimes I would just walk in without being invited because I want to see what's going on. But honestly, the teachers that I don't have as much of a relationship with are getting interested, I think, mostly through word of mouth from colleagues. Like, I think you do just have to start with that core group of people and focus on the people that want to be there. Mm-hmm. Focus on the people that want to learn, and their excitement is going to carry into like their CPT meetings and their curriculum meetings, and that stuff's going to be shared on Twitter, and it's going to be shared with the administration, and slowly things start to creep and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just have to realize that like my efforts aren't all going to come to fruition like tomorrow. The coaching role is such a gradual process. Like you do something today, you may not see that reward until years down the line, because it takes time. It takes time for me to learn things. It takes time for me to learn how to communicate with teachers and who communicates in which way. Because it's so much more about, like we said, it's about so much more than the tech. It's so much about communication and relationships. So, I'm seeing things finally now that I talked about at like my very first PD that I gave in September of 2019. And they're finally getting like how to really embed things into the classroom and how to make that technology, not technology, but like just an integral part of what's going on in their classroom. Yeah. So it just takes a long time,
I love that feeling though. Like, even though we gave the PD 2 years ago, when someone comes up to you, go, "Hey, I just tried Flipgrid for the first time, and it is awesome. I love it. I'm going to find ways to include this." I'm like, "Great, we did it. We made it. It was a breakthrough."
Proud. I feel like a mama bear. Like, you guys are the best. I love it. Yeah. So good.
Yeah. And someone had said to me that change in schools and school culture and the way schools operate is like, it's like turning a battleship around in a harbor, that like it takes a long time. We will get there. You won't see the results right away. But when you do see it, you'll go, wow, that was, we really got somewhere here. And we're all seeing that right now, which is great. So there are some perks associated with the certified coach program.
Yes, there are. So, my favorite perk is just having that title. I love that. There's a program just for coaches. There's the Google Educator levels 1 and 2, which is great, and anyone can do that. And that's really focused on the skills of the Google apps as well as the trainer. So that's very much focused on the tools and the apps and the how to do type of things. There is some scenarios that you have to go through with the trainer certification as well. But with the coaching, it's really, like we said, really so much is focused on the people skills. So what you get along with that, besides the awesome title of being a Google certified coach, is very similar to, and this is also for getting your trainer certification, because I think that's great too. But you do become part of a community once you receive your coaching certification, where you are getting invitations to professional development events that are designed just for coaches. And that is huge because the role is so different. Like, the coaching role is so different than knowing how to do the things, So yep. I just appreciate that they give you those resources. I mean, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. Our program is going to run for 6 months, which is the length of time of the coaching curriculum, but that's to give you enough time to go through X number of coaching cycles, to put a portfolio together, to just be very mindful and like pace yourself. It's not something that you can just take one day. It takes 2 hours and you're done with the exam. So it's designed in a very different way than the other Google certifications.
Yeah, and I can say from the trainer's perspective, having done the Anywhere School PD, all of those have just been so good. Every time I've taken the time out to do a webinar with Anywhere School, I've pulled at least 3 or 4 things out that I could use immediately. And I've really, really enjoyed those programs and the rest of the programs. And we're going to talk to Mei Ju, who is the trainer coordinator.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she's going to come on the podcast a couple episodes from now. She'll be on, and we're going to talk to her, which is a big get for us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and
I love her.
Yeah, she's really great. And the PD work that they do is It's usable. It's not, pie in the sky stuff. You've got the resources in front of you already. Here's just a way to use them and organize them to be impactful for teachers. And I've always enjoyed that stuff. So you're also part of the Google Educators Group of New England, which I believe is just recently launched, correct?
Oh, recent. April. We launched April, the beginning of April, the first week in April. So we've had 2 monthly meetings, and it's great. It's just a group of, like-minded googly educators getting together from all 6 states. There were a couple of Google groups in specific New England states, but we decided that, and Jen Judkins and Jolie Boucher, I should give all the credit to. They're the two that came up with this and got the group together and selected a few leaders from different states to represent the New England states. But we just decided that 6 states are better than 1, and we have a great group, and we just have a good time once a month talking about, a monthly theme and what's going on and with recent updates. And we stream live onto YouTube, and people can come in and watch and comment. And it's just been awesome. We have a great website with lots of resources. We have a database that we put together using Google Data Studio that has all of our tech tips and videos, and we push out videos every month to our YouTube channel. So our mission is to just, support and provide and collaborate to all the educators out there who are Google users, who are excited about it and want to learn more.
Well, I couldn't think of 3 people better to do it too. I mean, the collective knowledge of the 3 of you is really tremendous. That I know Jolie and Jen have recently gone through the Innovator program as well, which is like the ultimate goal for anybody, right?
Exactly.
But just so impressed with the work that you've been able to do to put that together and get it out and to build the cohorts. What other kinds of things do you have going on? I know that's a lot already.
That is a loaded question. Right now I'm planning prom for Thursday. So that's the big thing on my mind right now.
So you've got all this going on with the Google stuff.
Yeah, it's great. I honestly, I like my hands in lots of things, and I like to keep things busy and interesting.
That's an understatement. Yeah. We're in the middle of MCAS.
And MCAS, it's come at me. I'm ready.
Holy smokes.
Else, really this year, nothing surprises me anymore. So if you want to throw a few more projects on my plate, I can deal with it.
Okay. So where's the prom?
Yeah. The prom. Where is the prom?
Yeah.
It is at White's of Westport.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. And we're split into 3 ballrooms this year because we can't be in one. So the planning it's taken a lot of technology, which is how I found myself the honorary 3rd member class advisor this year.
Of course.
But it's been good. I had a crash course in Excel and, formulas and Excel and how to, sort columns and all that good stuff. Yeah. Excel scares the daylights out of me. So it's been good. But no, seriously, besides my job, I also have another PD thing coming up with MassQ, which I think goes along the same lines as the coaching. It's just a half-day event, though. On June 24th, Kim McCorkle and I are facilitating Ed Camp for coaches. And so I think that's going to be really great. We've had a lot of interest so far. We put out a Google form on the MassQ site about, showing your interest. What are you wanting to learn about? So it's going to be an Ed Camp in the sense that it will be facilitated by the participants, but we really are going to preset those sessions up so that because it's going to be a virtual event, so there's a little bit of structure, right, but not so much that people can't feel like they have a voice in the session. So that's focused also on coaches. Again, not just tech coaches, any type of coach, anyone in a coaching role or aspiring to be a coach, or anyone in a leadership role. I think it'll be really, really relevant. And a lot of the interest so far has been resources for coaches, particularly, not as much on the tech tools side of things. So I think that's also going to lend itself really well to that whole bigger conversation about building relationships and, how do you outreach to your teachers and things like that. So that's what people want. That's what people are looking for, I think, in that coaching role. And so that's, half day event on, I think it's a Thursday, June 24th. I'll be done with school. So that's all I know is that school will be over and I will be able to focus just on this half day event. And we're really excited about it.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
And then on top of that, you do some consulting work too.
I do some consulting work. Yes, I work. I'm doing some part-time work for Duxbury Public Schools right now because they don't have an instructional technology coach. So I've been working for them, not as much as I would have liked to because things have gotten a little bit crazy here, needless to say. But that's been really great learning, working at the district level, outreaching to all of the schools in the district and helping them really build things from the ground up because they've never had a coach in that role. So that's been really great working with the tech director there and putting out PD for teachers. And I built a Google Classroom for PD just for the teachers, which is nice. And I hope to continue that work into the summer because they've sort of fallen by the wayside with my regular job and, planning prom and everything. So hopefully this summer I'll be able to spend some more time with them, which is good. I love outreaching to other districts too, because it's nice to see what other people are doing. You kind of get stuck in that bubble of your own self and your own school. And so sometimes getting out and having a different perspective on how things run and what the needs of the school and the teachers are is very eye-opening and probably one of the best forms of professional development for a coach.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll be able to get into some more of our regular skit meetings too.
Miss our skit meetings.
Yeah, the skit has come up a couple of times on this podcast. So we did have a round table. I don't know. Maybe it was more of
I heard that one.
Maybe
that was great entertainment.
Maybe it was more of a trapezoid. I'm not sure, but with some of our other skit tech directors. But having you mentioned it earlier about being kind of the only person in your building that does something, or the only person in your district that does something, to be able to have that cohort or group of people to work with, monthly in person or even just daily through text. We were talking to John Galashaw before, and he was getting texts from Karen Winsper in the middle of the three of us talking. Karen's the tech director, Norton. Just having that is so important. And this job, in so many ways, silos you in a school district. But on the opposite side, you've got so many colleagues that are willing to help. It creates this awesome community. I don't really know how to explain it.
No, I totally feel that. I especially feel that this year. I think last year I was so focused on it being a new role for me to navigate that, a new school, a new group of teachers, that I didn't outreach as much. But this year I wouldn't have survived without texting or, having conversations like this or going to the skit meetings. I'm also part of the coaches SIG group through MassQ. That's just been those are all part of New England GEG. Those are game changers for people in roles like ours, where we really we're the lone wolf,
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm really frustrated about that because I don't have a department and I don't have department meetings and things like that. But then other times I'm I'm creating this role. It's becoming whatever I want it to be based on what I see the needs are of my teachers. And that's huge. That's very empowering, and it makes you feel okay, I can do this,
Yeah. In some ways, it's nice to sit down with another social studies teacher and write out a unit plan for World War I. But on another side, it's a lot better to be oh no, we're going to do it this way. This is my vision for this thing, and my vision is going to have a much larger impact than just one unit. It's going to be this is going to be our district plan or our building plan.
It's really cool to be able to guide teachers in a certain direction. Whether they always go with you the first time you suggest it or not is another story, but. That's what I love the most is just that, that consulting relationship is just, if you don't like what I'm suggesting, then let's do something else.
Yeah.
No skin off my back, really.
Right.
Whatever works for you. What are the learning needs of your students? How are we going to get there? How we get there isn't a big deal. I have some ideas, but if you don't like them, whatever, we'll move on. We'll do something else.
Yep. And we can scale it to you.
Exactly.
We don't have to app smash 6 or 7 apps together to get some unbelievable final product. We can just work on this one thing and build up from there.
Yeah.
That scaffolding is so important.
Sometimes in my digital learning team meetings, one teacher will get on not a rant, but be excited about all the ways that they're bringing all these different things together. And you can see the faces of the other teachers and I've got to I've got to like rein in that teacher who's getting overly excited about all the app smashing they're doing, because you can tell the other teachers are like, ooh, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. So just also to be able to act as that like kind of a mediator in department meetings or group meetings, where you can tell that you kind of have to keep them from like freaking each other out all the time about what they're doing.
Right.
So I feel like sometimes there's not competition, but like, oh, well, she's doing that in her classroom, I want to do that in my classroom. Well, that what she's doing in her classroom may not work for what you want to do in your classroom, but let's figure out another way that we can get to the goal that you have.
Right. 100%. Well, Jen, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, you are so welcome.
Thank you,
Brandon. This has been a long time coming. I'm like so psyched to finally be here.
I know. I've been trying to do this for a while. Thank you so much for coming on, Jen. You can where can people find your work online?
Twitter is the best place to reach me. And as you said in the beginning, it's at blendedlibgirl on Twitter. So I'm happy to connect with you there.
Any blogs or websites or anything?
Oh, under construction.
Okay. All right.
It's coming. It was supposed to come this year because I have a lot that I want to put out there, but COVID.
Oh, I know.
So,
we know. Jen, thank you so much. Jen Thomas from the Dartmouth Public Schools. And this is the Get a Q podcast. You've been listening to the Get a Q podcast by MassQ, here to educate, connect, and inspire.